So for my project, I chose Dimension of Contemporary Gender Inequality. So I chose this topic because gender inequality remains one of the most persistent forms of social inequality across the globe. It affects nearly every domain of life: education, work, politics, family roles, and interpersonal relationships. Understanding gender equality helps explain why inequality persists even when many think society has become quote unquote equal. So I chose this topic because gender equality is one of the most wide-reaching and persistent forms of social inequality across the world. It shapes opportunities like life experience and power at every level. Again, as I stated, from intimate relationships to larger scale institutions, so maybe your future job. I chose it because it illustrates how sociology helps us see the water we swim in, patterns that feel normal but are socially constructive and deeply unequal. So even as society talks more about equality, unequal pay, household labor gaps, violence against women, political underrepresentation, and stereotypes still persist. Understanding these patterns will help us see that they are not nature or inevitable. They are created by institution, norms, and social interactions. So this was the first part of Chapter 9. So Wade and Ferry frame gender inequality. They emphasize that gender inequality is structural, meaning it's built into institutions such as schools, workplace, media, family, and governments. They show that inequality is reproduced through socialization, expectations, and cultural narratives about masculinity and feminine. Gender inequality persists because society sorts people into roles that limit opportunities. Women like unpaid labor, care work, service roles, and then men in leadership, authority, and high-paying fields. The author stresses that modern inequalities appear not too big, but not necessarily expressed through open discrimination. Wade and Ferry bring up their central goal is to show readers how to see the invisible, the hidden rules that structure everyday life. They use gender equality to demonstrate how personal experience like household division or labor are shaped by larger social systems. They highlight the part that points to the inequality isn't caused by individual choice, but the social environment that shapes these choices. Gender equality is a magnificent example of how societies produce and maintain hierarchies, yet it's terrible because it restricts human potentials. So the article I chose was Equal Pay Day highlights stalled progress on closing gender pay gaps. This was written because Equal Pay Day is symbolic. This article uses it to highlight that despite awareness and some policy effects, the gender wage gap persists and progress is not linear. Full-time women workers typically earn 83 cents for every dollar men make. The pay gap is not closing quickly. In fact, the figure reflects a stalling or reverse process. Over a full career, so around 40 years, these earnings accumulate significantly, leading to larger lifetime wage gaps. Factors contributing to the gap include occupational segregation, caregiving responsibilities, and institutional bias. So what I learned from this is the gender pay gap is not just a women issue, it's about structural economic inequality. Symbolic days like Equal Pay Days are powerful and draw attention to problems, but they also mask how slow change actually is. Even with legal protections and transparency effort, culture and institutional barriers persist. This article exemplifies what Wade and Ferry called gender as a social institution. Pay inequality is not just about sexism and hiring, but about systematic organization at work, compensation, and gender expectations. The lifetime wage gap illustrates how inequality compounds over time, aligning with their ideas that gender systems produce cumulative disadvantages. This article also reflects at the point that inequality persistence, even when they think that we've fixed the rules, having equal pay laws or transparency isn't enough without structural change. My personal opinion, it's frustrating, but not surprising, that pay equality progress have stalled. It shows that culture and institutional barriers are deeper than what people just say to be equal pay for equal work. What I think Wade and Ferry would say, they'd likely argue that the stagnation is exactly what we need to analyze gender structurally, not just push for individual negotiation or isolated reforms. So what I've learned from this assignment, how to connect social theories to real-world data and current events. The gender equality isn't a relic of the past, it's present and evolving, and sociology gives us tools to understand and challenge it. Policy solutions, pay transparency, parental leave, and equal pay legislations are important, but without changing cultural expectations and institutional structures, this is just going to continue.